Just weeks before Perez Hilton was rushed to a hospital following a deeply disturbing livestream, he publicly admitted something that sounds very different in hindsight. He said he was overwhelmed. He said he had been in what he described as a bit of a spiral, and at the time Perez seemed determined to pull himself out of it. He was exercising again, he was reconnecting with his faith. He was trying to establish a new life in Miami with his 3 children, but what looked like a difficult transition was happening after months of physical health problems, major changes, and repeated hospital stays. Then, on August 4, everything changed. And now, with Perez still hospitalized and his family making major decisions about his children, people are looking back at what he said during the weeks before the crisis, and realizing just how difficult 2026 had already been for him. A year that had already pushed him hard. The story didn't begin in Miami. Months earlier, Perez had already faced a frightening medical situation. In March 2026, he spent roughly 3 weeks hospitalized after developing severe sepsis. Perez later explained that the ordeal began after he took flu medication without eating. According to his account, complications followed involving an ulcer and perforation, eventually resulting in sepsis. For someone who had spent decades commenting on other celebrities' lives, Perez suddenly found himself documenting something completely different: his own recovery. And getting out of the hospital didn't mean the health crisis was finished. Not long afterward, Perez revealed that he had developed a massive blood clot in his right leg. It required another hospitalization and an emergency thrombectomy. Perez described the clot as fully blocking the affected vein and extending through a significant portion of his leg. After surgery, even walking became extremely painful. Then came an encouraging update. Perez announced that he could finally walk again. It seemed as though the worst might finally be behind him. But his recovery was happening at the same time another enormous change was approaching. Perez was preparing to leave Las Vegas, and this wasn't just another celebrity relocation. He was going home. Miami was supposed to be a new beginning. On June 17, Perez announced that he and his children were permanently moving to Miami. There was an obvious emotional connection. Perez was born in Miami and grew up there, and the move would bring him closer to family. After everything he'd experienced physically, being surrounded by relatives could have represented stability, a reset, maybe even a chance to rebuild after an exhausting few months. But moving an entire household is stressful under normal circumstances. Doing it while recovering from serious medical problems is something else entirely. And only 9 days after announcing the move, Perez uploaded a video that revealed the transition hadn't been as smooth as it might have appeared. The title alone was revealing. "I fell off the wagon. In every sense." But Perez admitted he'd been struggling. He explained that he'd become overwhelmed by the move to Miami and had stopped doing some of the things he knew helped him. In his own words, he had been in a bit of a spiral. At the time, however, the message wasn't presented as hopeless. Quite the opposite. Perez was talking about trying to correct course, and one of the first places he turned was the gym. He was actively trying to feel better. Perez explained that he was putting effort back into routines he believed were good for him. Exercise was one of them. Faith was another. He spoke about attending a new church and sitting through a service that lasted approximately 2 hours. He admitted feeling some anxiety, but he also said the experience left him feeling more soothed, inspired, and centered. That's an important part of this story, because it would be easy to take his comments about spiraling and retroactively treat them as proof that everyone should have known exactly what was coming. They weren't. No outsider can diagnose someone's mental state from a YouTube video, and Perez himself was describing concrete steps he was taking to improve how he felt. He was showing up, he was trying new routine, he was seeking community. He was spending time on his faith, and publicly he was still working. Perez had spent more than 2 decades building a career around being constantly online. Long before today's influencer economy existed, Perez Hilton had already turned celebrity gossip into a personal internet brand. That success came with enormous controversy over the years. But it also meant Perez's public persona and private life had become unusually intertwined. His audience was accustomed to hearing what he thought. They were accustomed to seeing what he was doing. And Perez was accustomed to sharing. That relationship with the internet would become critically important on August 4, because this time, viewers weren't watching celebrity gossip. They realized they were witnessing a crisis, the livestream that triggered an emergency response. On Tuesday, August 4, Perez appeared on TikTok in an extremely distressing livestream. The graphic details aren't necessary to understand what happened. What matters is that viewers believe Perez was harming himself. People watching began contacting authorities. According to the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, deputies received numerous calls from concerned viewers and were dispatched to Perez's Miami residence. Emergency dispatch communications reportedly described the situation as a possible attempt to take his own life. When deputies arrived, authorities said Perez was alone inside the home. The response wasn't simply about forcing their way into a volatile situation as quickly as possible. The sheriff's office later explained that during mental health emergencies, deputies may use de-escalation strategies designed to create time, distance, and opportunities for communication. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue was also involved. Eventually, Perez was transported to a nearby hospital for medical treatment. The sheriff's crisis response unit and licensed mental health professionals were brought in as well, with officials saying resources and support were provided to family members. Meanwhile, clips from the live stream had already begun spreading across social media. TikTok subsequently banned Perez's account, but while the internet debated what happened, the people closest to Perez were dealing with something far more immediate: his condition. His family finally broke their silence in the days after the hospitalization. Information arrived slowly. That was deliberate. Perez's family asked for privacy while doctors treated him. One of the first encouraging updates was that he was able to communicate, but subsequent information made clear that his physical recovery wouldn't necessarily be quick. His family later announced that Perez remained hospitalized in serious but stable condition. They said he'd experienced significant blood loss and suffered additional injuries requiring surgery. They also warned that recovery would be a long process. For anyone following Perez throughout 2026, the situation felt especially difficult because this was yet another major hospitalization in a remarkably short period. Sepsis, the blood clot, emergency surgery, learning to walk comfortably again, moving states, trying to rebuild routines, and now another hospitalization. One longtime friend publicly urged people to approach the situation differently from the way celebrity scandals normally unfold. Attorney Brian Friedman, who previously represented Perez for roughly 2 decades, said he was deeply concerned and was trying to confirm that Perez was receiving the care he needed. His message ultimately came down to 2 words: kindness and compassion. And another development has now shifted attention toward the 3 people whose lives are most directly connected to Perez's recovery: his children. Now his mother is Stephen. Perez is the father of 3 children, and on August 12, reports revealed that his mother, Teresita Lavandera, had filed for temporary custody of them. According to People, the filing was made on August 7 in Miami Family Court, just days after Perez was hospitalized. Perez reportedly consented to the temporary arrangement and acknowledged that it was in his children's best interests. The filing would allow their grandmother to handle major responsibilities involving their welfare while Perez remains unable to resume his normal parental role. There's another important detail. The family reportedly asked the court to seal the case because of the extraordinary amount of public attention surrounding Perez. That request makes sense when you consider how rapidly footage and commentary surrounding the incident spread online. These aren't public figures choosing celebrity careers. They're children dealing with a family emergency. And while the custody filing might sound dramatic when reduced to a headline, temporary guardianship during a parent's hospitalization can be a practical way of ensuring children have someone legally authorized to make important decisions. It does not tell us what Perez's long-term family situation will look like. What it does show is that his family appears to be preparing for a recovery that may take time. And that makes something Perez said before all of this even more significant. The warning signs aren't as simple as they look. It's tempting to build a neat story after something terrible happens. Perez said he was spiraling. 5 weeks later, he was hospitalized. Therefore, People might assume the earlier video explained everything. But real life isn't that simple. We don't know everything Perez was experiencing privately. We don't know exactly what led to the events of August 4. And unless Perez eventually decides to explain those circumstances himself, filling in those blanks with rumors would be irresponsible. What we do know is that 2026 had placed him under considerable strain. His body had been through severe illness. He spent weeks hospitalized. He underwent emergency surgery. He moved his family across the country. And he openly acknowledged feeling overwhelmed during that transition. Yet the same video also showed him trying to help himself. That's what makes watching his comments afterward so complicated. He wasn't simply telling viewers he was struggling. He was telling them he was trying to exercise, trying to reconnect spiritually, trying to feel centered again, trying to create a new beginning in Miami. And that's why this story shouldn't become another piece of internet spectacle. The internet saw something it was never meant to turn into entertainment. Perez Hilton built his career during an era when celebrity breakdowns were routinely transformed into content. He became famous commenting on some of the biggest stars in the world during their most chaotic moments. Now the roles have been reversed in a way nobody could have predicted. Perez became the person at the center of the headline, and millions of people suddenly had a choice about how they responded. Some searched for the footage, others reposted clips. But many viewers did something much more important. They contacted authorities. Those calls helped turn an online crisis into a real-world emergency response. That's arguably the most meaningful part of what happened. The audience didn't just watch. People recognized that something was wrong and acted. And now the story has moved beyond the live stream. Perez remains hospitalized. His family says his recovery will take time. His mother has stepped in to provide legal stability for his children. And the man who only weeks earlier was talking about building a healthier life in Miami is now facing another enormous recovery. There's still a lot we don't know. There may eventually be more updates from Perez himself. But until then, perhaps the most revealing thing isn't trying to uncover some hidden explanation for what happened. It's recognizing how dramatically someone's circumstances can change even while they're actively trying to improve them. 5 weeks before his hospitalization, Perez Hilton publicly admitted that he was overwhelmed. But in that same conversation, he was also talking about getting back on track. That's the part worth remembering. Because behind the celebrity name, the gossip empire, the controversies and decades of headlines is a father of 3 going through an intensely personal crisis. And for once, this Perez Hilton story doesn't need more gossip. It needs time. And whatever comes next will hopefully be about recovery.